This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
I read an article recently, Matt, and it's crazy. And it claims that renting is now cheaper than owning in all major U.S. cities. And this is according to LendingTree.
So your rent is going to be much cheaper than your mortgage payment?
Correct. Yeah. And that's a tough place to be in the housing market, because if it's cheaper to rent than why own.
Right.
Like, over the long term, you're building equity. I get all that. But for the people who are, counting the cost of eggs, factoring gas into the cost of their monthly, gas. Like, we have a friend, she knows every day for her to drive to and from work, it's $12.
Right.
And so when people are factoring those types of numbers in, man, this makes financial sense for me to just buy a house right now.
Right. It just depends, I guess, on your life situation and your financial situation.
Yeah.
For some people, it's still, I want to buy a home. I can afford it. The interest rate, I can afford the monthly. Right? That's what you're always pushing. It all comes down to the monthly.
Absolutely.
And so for some, it's like, hey, I want to buy a house. I can do this. I can afford the monthly. I don't want to rent. I want to own my own home. So for them, it's still doable. But for those that are right there, where they're comparing the rent and the mortgage payment, and they are considering all the other expenses, whether it's energy bills or grocery prices, gas prices, then right now the easier choice is to rent. Then that's still hard for me to believe too. I guess, wouldn't it depend on the neighborhood and the type of home that you're wanting to rent?
So I wouldn't say it's like every instance it's cheaper to rent than to own, but just in the major U.S. cities. And the thing that I think a lot of buyers are nervous about is, as Ryan Lundquist said in his blog, the R word. The word about the R word, and the R word is recession. And they're worried about, hey, it's cheaper to rent than to own. What happens if we then buy this house and home prices go down? Now we're paying more for a house that's worth less, when we could have just rented the whole time and never had that risk factor to begin with.
But I heard, I was watching Fox Business News yesterday, and I forget what the main guy on there, his name is, but he's buddies with Trump. He said he looked at a couple of different numbers as far as like manufacturing and industry and business growth, those numbers, not necessarily inflation or anything like that. And he says those are signs that we are not in a recession, and that things are going to turn around. So I guess it depends on who you ask.
It depends. All I know is that locally in the Sacramento region, it definitely is feeling a little recession-y. Like, I'm not saying we're in a recession.
And you're basing that just based off of real estate, though.
Yeah. So recession-y, at least in the real estate market, not across like manufacturing and all these other different industries. Just simply because there was such a boom of homes that came on the market in January. Like, it was insane. In many instances, 2x of what happened last year. Now, granted, that's still below normal levels, but just to see that massive increase year over year of inventory come to the market.
What does that mean then?
It means there's more competition. So it's classic supply demand.
Right.
If there's more supply, right, then demand goes down. If demand goes down, prices go down. And so for homeowners, are seeing the prices softening on many of their homes. They're either staying flat or going down. Now, if your home is priced correctly, if it's been well maintained, if it looks great, smells great, and is in a great location, those are still flying off the market. But if you are in an average home, maybe there's some deferred maintenance, and maybe you need top dollar in order to get that house sold, those ones are sitting.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see
what happens. It is softening. And so I'm not saying that we're in a recession. Ryan Lundquist doesn't claim that we're in a recession. It's just, I'm definitely seeing it's a little spongy. We're not like increasing,
What could change that? Do you feel like the president has the power to have some effect in preventing a recession? Like, as far as, a lot of people are weary about these tariffs, and is he able to bring down grocery prices, especially eggs? Eggs seem to be dropping in the past few weeks. Gas prices seem to have been dropping.
Yep.
Do you think what can change this? What can change the trajectory of what you're saying could possibly be a recession, at least in real estate?
So as far as the president having an impact on these industries, I would say that depends on the president. The guy
the current president that we have right now.
I know, but the guy who was in previously, I would not have said could have had an impact on these types of things. The guy who's in now definitely is intentionally making moves. And we'll see if those moves end up being a good thing for the economy or not. Are tariffs a good thing or not?
Okay, so if you had a sit-down meeting with President Trump and you wanted him to take some actions to improve the real estate industry and prevent us from going into a recession in the housing market, what would you tell him to do?
Well, my hope would be that they could get the local government on board to make it easier and cheaper to build houses. Like, just cut the red tape.
Right.
Make it.
Well, Governor Gavin Newsom said he's doing that.
Governor, yeah, well, and I'm telling you, dude, he's running for president.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
Everybody's like, people are fighting me on it. They're like, no, he's not running for president. No, that dude is totally running for president. He's already reframing his political
So you're
opinion.
saying though that one of the reasons that we might see a recession is increased inventory, and so how would building more houses prevent that? Because it would not even be more inventory.
So there's a home shortage. Like, have you noticed, like, when you drive down the freeways, you see all these billboards for ADUs?
Yeah.
So that's something that I would argue Gavin has done, where he has made it easier and cheaper for people to build accessory dwelling units, like mother-in-law units, on their property to help with the housing shortage. But as far as home prices are insanely high. Like if you talk to somebody, like, what they're making and what they have to pay towards their monthly mortgage versus what somebody was like as a percentage. We're not talking dollars, but as a percentage.
Sure.
10 years ago, 20 years ago.
I've seen those numbers. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty astonishing.
It's not sustainable for families because they may be able to pay that mortgage payment, but then are they going to be able to help send their kid to college?
Right.
Are they going to be able to pay for their kid's wedding?
Right.
Are they going to be able to save for retirement?
Yeah.
And so
you don't think if interest rates come down, we'll see things turn around a little bit? Like, let's say interest rates come down to the 4s.
If interest rates drop, then prices will stay strong. Prices will stay strong or go up. That's why really there needs to be a national increase in housing supply, because if now there's an increase in supply, prices, and then interest rates drop, then prices may if there's enough supply, prices may still drop, but it won't be as hard. It'll be more affordable all around for everybody to own a home and jump into that asset class. Whereas right now, it is really challenging for people. Like, you see family members, grandparents taking out seconds or putting reverse mortgages on their property in order to help their grandkids buy a house.
Right.
Like, this is not an uncommon thing.
Right.
And if that's what they're doing now, what's that going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years when now those kids or parents, grandparents trying to help out their family?
Right.
And it's typically regulation only grows. So my suggestion would be cut the regulation. Well, and that's it. When we come back, next week we will talk about how Redfin was bought by Rocket Mortgage. So who knows? I think Zillow may have some competition finally.